What if saving the world didn't start with fighting evil, but with rebuilding it piece by piece? Dragon Quest VII might be one of the most ambitious JRPGs ever made, a game that literally asks you to rediscover an entire lost world. But it's also known for being sometimes too slow and also incredibly long. Today, we're stepping into the past, restoring forgotten lands, and seeing whether Dragon Quest VII still holds up, or if it's a relic better left in the past. I'm TheParallel, and this is Dragon Quest VII Reimagined in 7 minutes. Dragon Quest VII is built around discovery, but not in the way most RPGs handle it. Instead of exploring a massive open world right from the start, the game begins with a tiny island that appears to be the only land left in existence. Progression revolves around finding mysterious stone tablets that unlock fragments of the past, sending you to isolated story episodes across different regions of the world before they were destroyed. Each restored land eventually reappears in the present, slowly rebuilding the full world map. It's an incredibly unique progression system that constantly reinforces the game's central theme, restoration. The real gameplay hook in Dragon Quest VII has always been its vocation system, basically the game's version of a job or class mechanic. Characters can train as warriors, mages, martial artists, and eventually unlock hybrid or advanced roles. That foundation still exists in Reimagined, but the way it's structured has been significantly redesigned. One of the biggest changes is how early players gain access to vocations. In the original PlayStation version, unlocking the job system took a massive amount of time. In the 3DS remake, shortened that wait slightly, but it still required a serious commitment. Reimagined speeds this up dramatically, introducing class customization far earlier in the adventure, which immediately gives players more agency in how they build their party. The headline addition here is the brand new moonlighting system, which allows characters to equip 2 vocations simultaneously. Instead of switching jobs and temporarily weakening your character, players can now combine 2 different roles at the same time. This means you can create hybrid builds that blend stats, skills, and passive bonuses from both vocations, dramatically increasing build variety and tactical depth. One controversial change involves the monster vocation system. In the original 3DS versions, players could transform characters into monster classes by collecting special monster heart items. In Reimagined, full monster classes have largely been removed. Instead, monster abilities are now simplified into equipable items or specific vocation perks, such as the newly added Monster Master role, which focuses on summoning monsters to assist you in combat. This change streamlines progression and reduces grinding, but also removes one of the series' more experimental customization paths. Beyond class mechanics, Reimagined introduced several quality of life upgrades that indirectly enhance vocation progression. Players can now instantly defeat weaker enemies in the overworld if their party is strong enough, significantly speeding up experience and proficiency gains. Battle speed controls, auto battle options, and smoother encounter transitions further reduce downtime, allowing players to focus more on experimenting with builds and combat strategies rather than repetitive grinding. That said, these improvements come with trade-offs. The redesigned system places more emphasis on strategic role synergy rather than allowing players to eventually carry every skill across every class like in the original game. While this makes party composition feel more balanced and purposeful, it also slightly limits the wild, fully customizable builds that longtime fans might remember. Overall, the vocation system in Dragon Quest VII Reimagined feels less like a direct remake and more like a full reinterpretation. It maintains the deep customization and progression that defined the original while modernizing the pacing and reducing the barriers that once made mastering classes feel like an endurance test. Visually, Dragon Quest VII carries the unmistakable charm of Akira Toriyama's character design. The monsters are expressive, goofy, and instantly recognizable, striking that perfect balance between comedic and threatening. The original PlayStation version leaned heavily into pre-rendered backgrounds and sprite-based character models. While technically dated, it created a cozy storybook atmosphere that still feels nostalgic today. The 3DS remake reimagines the visuals with full 3D environments, brighter color palettes, and smoother character animations. Thanks to modern emulators, it can still look fantastic to this day. Reimagined captures the world in a fantastic diorama style, using captures of real-life dolls to bring the characters to life. Whichever style one prefers is ultimately a personal choice, but in my opinion, you can't go bad with either of the 3. The soundtrack follows the classic Dragon Quest musical identity, built around orchestral compositions that blend whimsy with emotional storytelling. Town themes feel inviting and peaceful, often reinforcing the individuality of each region you restore. Battle music sticks to the series' traditional structure, energetic but familiar, sometimes to the point of repetition during long play sessions. Where the soundtrack shines most is during emotional story arcs. Several region-specific themes capture feelings of loss, hope, or tragedy, helping each island feel like its own, unique, contained narrative. While it may not be the most experimental score in RPG history, it perfectly supports Dragon Quest VII's tone and pacing. Reimagined really brings you back in time in different ways, and soundtrack is absolutely one of them. Dragon Quest VII tells one of the most unusual stories in the franchise. Rather than focusing on a single grand narrative, the game presents a collection of smaller stories across different islands you restore through time travel. Each region explores unique themes: corruption, cultural collapse, lost tradition, personal sacrifice, often with surprisingly heavy emotional weight. Reimagined keeps the core structure intact, but significantly reshapes how the narrative is delivered. One of the biggest shifts is pacing. The original PlayStation version was infamous for its extremely slow opening and massive runtime, and even the 3DS remake still leaned heavily into the marathon structure. Reimagined aggressively trims excess dialogue and backtracking above of all. Entire side scenarios and optional systems were removed or repurposed, including locations like Immigrant Town, Monster Meadows, the casino, and several smaller story arcs, with some of them only including a boss battle but not the rest of the content that was usually there in the original and the remake. The overall length of the game drops a lot. The original and remake required about 100 hours to properly complete and 150 hours if you wanted to do everything in the game, while Reimagined is more in line with more modern JRPGs requiring about 60 to 80 hours to properly complete, also depending on the difficulty loop you play the game at. Reimagined also introduces new narrative elements to expand character development, including extended character scenarios. These changes made the party feel more consistently involved in the overarching conflict instead of occasionally fading into the background between island stories. The main important change in Reimagined is branching choices, since they can lead to an entirely new ending not present in previous versions. Reimagined sacrifices some optional world building and side content, but in exchange, it delivers a more focused narrative experience that emphasizes emotional highlights and character arcs without the overwhelming time investment of earlier versions. Before the conclusion, thank you for all the support shown lately. I give away a copy of the game to this user. Please leave a comment under this video to claim your copy. For everyone else, stay tuned for future community giveaways. The next focus of the channel will be Monster Hunter Stories 3. I hope to be able to give away multiple copies of this game, so help me grow this channel together. Let's continue. In conclusion, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined isn't just a visual upgrade or simple modernization, it's a full interpretation of one of the most ambitious entries in the series. Instead of preserving every system and scenario exactly as they were, this version clearly prioritizes accessibility, pacing, and player agency. By restructuring progression, refining the vocation system, and tightening the story's delivery, Reimagined transforms Dragon Quest VII from an endurance-style RPG into something far more approachable for modern audiences. At the same time, those changes come with trade-offs. Reimagined smooths out many of the original game's rough edges, but it also removes many elements that long-term fans viewed as part of Dragon Quest VII's identity, like the vocation costumes introduced in Remake, or 3 different islands and relative content, or also, again, the ability to cast the abilities of weapons from your inventory. The result is a remake that feels more focused and polished, though occasionally less sprawling and unpredictable. For newcomers, this is easily the most welcoming and refined way to experience Dragon Quest VII's world and storytelling. For returning fans, Reimagined offers enough new systems, narrative additions, and gameplay flexibility to justify revisiting the adventure, even if some of the original's depths and optional content didn't make the transition. For all these reasons, I believe Reimagined is an amazing project, but its main flaw is ultimately the pricing. The price. I think a project released at $49.90 would find more success on the market and fit better in today's landscape, whether it's euro or dollars. I ultimately rate the game a 9 out of 10, but I suggest both nostalgic fans and new fans of the series to wait for a price drop and instead focus on other Dragon Quest titles for the moment, or also consider playing the original game or the 3DS remake if they can, because they are both still incredibly valid. This was Dragon Quest VII Reimagined in 7 minutes. Thank you for watching, and this is The Parallel, signing out.